And I called my wife, and we had never had this conversation ever. And I was like, look, I'm obviously miserable in this job. And what could you see me doing if money didn't matter? So that was the first question that I was kind of asking. It's really just a question about happiness. Like, what would you be happy doing? And I think a lot of people go into business first because they've got this, idea to make millions. I'm not saying that's the wrong way to do it. It's just not the way that I've done it. I've always started with, am I going to be happy with it?
Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. All right, welcome to the In the Arena podcast. We are having one of our real estate episodes, but it's going to be great because we're going to blend entrepreneurship and real estate in with my good buddy, Ryan Enk. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah.
And thanks also for what you guys are doing to promote entrepreneurship and in this pair specifically.
Yeah. I remember the day that I came and sat in your office and I was like, hey, Ryan, I want to do these things. And you were like, you should probably just go start your own business. And I appreciate it. I remember that conversation, I think it was yesterday, and it really does mean a lot. Not only that, but the support you gave us from the beginning and what you're doing now. I mean, it's definitely appreciated, and we appreciate you.
I was surprised that you weren't already a business owner. I was literally shocked. So when you came to me with a different idea, I was like, well, one thing is 100% certain, like you should own your own business. I can't believe you don't already.
Yeah. Which look, I mean, we could, I think it's great segue into that, because I think that entrepreneurship, while it's been kind of turned into this term that everybody likes to talk about, it's not easy. And for me, I think that I'm at least a little humble enough to know that it was hard for me to make that step because I didn't know if I could do it myself. And obviously the timing had to be right. And I did a lot of planning. I had people that came into my life like Lauren and John and Becky that allowed me to feel comfortable and able to take that step. But it's a scary thing to step out and be an entrepreneur. Why don't you talk a little about your experience about when you decided you were going to take a step?
Yeah, it was a lot easier for me because I had nothing to lose. When I started, it was like right after Hurricane Katrina. My wife was pregnant for our first child. She was 8 months pregnant. Hurricane Katrina hits. I was teaching at Jesuit. And Jesuit was like 4 feet underwater, and our house was underwater in New Orleans, and it was like no one would hire me. So I was like, I guess I have to start my own business if no one's going to hire me. And I made a lot of mistakes. I started this company that there's another company that's successful like it out there called Angie's List. Mm-hmm. Mine was called the Job Ref, but I just sucked at it. And so I lost, about $10,000 to $15,000 that I pulled out in home equity to try to start it. And ended up doing some real estate on the side, and then finally got a job selling copiers of all things. That's like the only people that would hire me were like, we'll let you go, knock on doors and sell copies.
Yeah. If you make it, you survive. You survive.
If this guy does fine, great. If not, we'll just cut him from the payroll. You know? So that job was so miserable that I remember specifically one day I'm driving across the causeway, and I just sold a copier to St. Joseph's Abbey, and I just got chewed out by this monk there. And I'm sitting there driving across. When you're on the causeway, like it just really makes you think whatever you're thinking a little more. It's just like
the thunk. Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, where am I at in my life? Where like I wake up with anxiety every day, and I hate what I do. Like, and I'm getting chewed out by Catholic monks.
Yeah,
So
I really need that journal entry one day. I want to read that. Like, so then the monk said,
right? Yeah, exactly. So I just, I hit. I took to prayer, and, I was like, God, what do you want me to do? Like, and for whatever reason, that movie Office Space just popped up in my head, and it was like, what would you do if you had $1 million? Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, of course.
Where they actually take the copier out back and beat it with a baseball bat?
Which is also what you wanted to do.
So I was like, well, if I had, just unlimited money, I'd probably open up an indoor sports arena or play music or something. And I called my wife, and we had never had this conversation ever. And I was like, look, I'm obviously miserable in this job, and what could you see me doing if money didn't matter? So that was the first question that I was kind of asking. It's really just a question about happiness. Like, what would you be what would you be happy doing? And I think a lot of people go into business first because they've got this, idea to make millions. I'm not saying that's the wrong way to do it. It's just not the way that I've done it. I've always started with, am I going to be happy with this?
Yeah, sure.
So I called my wife and I said, what could you see me doing if money didn't matter? And she said, I don't know, opening up an indoor sports arena or playing music or something. So I was like, well, just remember it was your idea.
Right.
That's awesome.
I think that sticks with us a lot. I mean, one of the things I do with every business owner that comes to our office when they're ready to scale or get started is like, what is your real purpose in starting this business? And if all they can tell me is to make money, then let's find something else that you have passion behind, because that's fleeting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not always going to be motivated, so you need to be disciplined. You're only going to be disciplined around things that you have a passion for. And I think, the way you pose the question to your wife is oftentimes what I pose to them. Like, if you closed your eyes, what does success look like for you, right? And most of the time, if you force people to do that, they're going to think about being happy, not think about like laying in a bed full of dollars. Well, some people might, but
Scrooge McDuck
Exactly.
diving into the change. Yeah. Yeah. No. So that's a really important question. I think that most people need to ask is, first, say money aside, what could you do? And then from there, you got to kind of create a formula like, all right, can I do this and actually provide for my family?
Sure. Yeah.
I have 5 kids, by the way. I don't know if your audience knows that, but I've got 5 boys. And so providing for my family is important.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
It's
how
a lot
much
of
groceries
food.
do y'all actually get each week?
I try not to look at it. I don't even look at it. I know that they're all like a bear in a pantry, though. It's a mess.
My mom had 4 boys, dude, and we would walk in when I came back from college. My youngest brother, 10 years younger than me, and you would open the refrigerator on Friday night, and the amount of raw, uncooked meat that was in there was unbelievable. It'd be like, there's no way we're going to eat all that food. And it would be gone by the time Sunday came around. All of it would be completely gone and eaten. Not like Tupperware to take with you back to college. Completely gone.
It's not much different when you have girl athletes.
Yeah, okay.
I feel that way with Jocelyn and Dylan.
Yeah, yep.
All kids eat, apparently.
For sure. For sure. So, and I tell that the same advice you give to people that want to go to law school. I always tell them, don't go work at a law firm to figure out whether you want to go to law school. Go figure out what you're passionate about. Go be a real estate agent. Go work for a sports agency. Go work for the state capitol and fight for women's rights. And then if you are passionate about that, go to law school and figure out how you can apply the law to whatever that is. Yeah. So you can figure out a way to practice law in an area that you enjoy, instead of going to law school, figuring out you really don't know if you like that a ton. You're going to go work for somebody doing something you don't know if you like. And 5 years later, if you really don't like it, you're kind of stuck in this spot where now you have a family you got to provide, and you can't take a step back and pivot as much. So I think that, entrepreneurship is fun. It can be scary, and you can end up being Scrooge McDuck if you work hard enough. Yeah. But really, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's not going to be worth it in the long run.
I think that's really good advice, and I think everybody needs to take a scorecard and just be very, very practical about what they're actually doing every day. That was my dream, to open up the indoor sports arena, and I'm glad I did it. We had it for 10 years. We sold it right before COVID, and the guy that bought it from us, it ended up going out of business during COVID. But that was an amazing place. It was a 30,000 square foot arena, and we had flag football, soccer, lacrosse, birthday parties. People got engaged there.
Yeah.
It was a really cool spot.
Outdoor volleyball too for a second, right?
The volleyball wasn't ours, but they were next to us, and we had
shared it
partnership going. But asking what you were specifically doing every day, I remember when I was pursuing this dream, it took me 3 years to finally get it accomplished, and I felt like on the top of the world once we had the doors open. Yeah. But then on the daily operational part of it, I'm thinking it would just be awesome to own an indoor sports arena.
Yeah.
But what does it entail?
What are you actually doing? Like, you're actually dealing with reschedule requests. You're dealing with
facility maintenance.
Yeah, facility maintenance, referee complaints. And you go in every day, and that's what you're doing. So like actually running it was not fun. For me, which is why I ended up selling it like 8 to 9 years later. But I think it's important to really get a scorecard of things you like doing during the day, you know, and applying that to whatever you're pursuing. I could open it in a different way. I could have taken more of an ownership role and less of a operational, you know, hands-on dealing.
That's when you're really a business owner. I
That's
think
right.
people forget that mark, right? I'm like, oh, so you work for your business, and they're like, no, I own it. I'm like, nope, you work for your business. We can talk about what it looks like to move into that owner's role, but delegating's hard.
So I mean, and after you got out of that business, I mean, technically you were in the real estate business at that point. You owned the building, right? And you're operating that business, but you stepped out of that and you started doing some other things. What was the next thing you did after you finished with the indoor sports facility?
Yeah, so kind of coattailing on that, like figuring out what you actually like doing, what you're, you know, what you can make money doing, things that you enjoy on a day-to-day basis. Before I opened the indoor sports arena, I hired this consultant. That's what I learned from failing at the first business, is like actually like get a mentor or a consultant to help you with something that you want to do. And I thought he was going to give me a feasibility study for the arena. And instead of the feasibility study, he gave me a quote. He's like, I just want you to think about this quote for one day. And at first I felt ripped off. I'm like, I don't need like inspirational quotes. I need like a feasibility study, you know, with numbers. And the quote said, "This much I know, those of you who will truly be happy will be the ones who have sought and found a way to serve." That's from Albert Schweitzer. And that really hit me. And I've done that for every business that I've opened since. So after Playmakers, the indoor sports arena, I ask those questions. Who do I want to serve? Why do I want to serve them? And how am I going to serve them? And I'd always been interested in real estate. I'd always been, I moved around a lot as a kid, so I was always like just fascinated with different houses and whatnot. And then I was also really good at Monopoly. Which is not that hard to be good at Monopoly. You just buy everything you land on.
Lesson number 1, play Monopoly.
Yeah. But my family didn't figure out that you just buy everything that you land on. So I ended up just dominating the board.
So were you good or was your family bad? You know, there's something to be said.
Probably a little bit of both.
In his league, he was the best. That's all that mattered. He was the Donald Trump of at home and
yeah, that's right.
House.
That's right. So I just you know, with the indoor sports arena, I was going to put that up for sale, but I needed to have another income source. And I was reading a lot of Robert Kiyosaki at the time, and I had already previously been a realtor as well. I was a realtor for, you know, that entire time.
Yeah.
Just on the side. And
I mean, do we still have that picture? I always like to look at a good
me as a
realtor
realtor?
headshot. Yeah,
I probably have some business cards in my attic.
Jonah,
Ladder
now
and
we
Bloom.
need to like flash that up on the screen. The headshot of Ryan as a realtor.
I look like I'm 15.
Yeah. Well, every real estate agent,
they would still be using that today.
Yeah, same card.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to make the pivot from being a realtor to a business owner and then doing something else in real estate. Because I realized after being a business owner, reading Robert Kiyosaki's books, like, am I going to be transactional? Am I going to be basically a sales rep, which is what a realtor is?
Yeah.
Or am I going to own and invest in real estate?
Yeah.
And so I just took the market knowledge that I already had, and I said, I'm just going to own and invest in real estate. And the only problem was I didn't really have a lump sum of money.
Yeah.
I had taken out a good chunk to get the arena started, and like home equity loans and stuff like that. But I was I had read a bunch of books about creative financing and owner financing, and so I really utilized a lot of those strategies to get started. So one of the first deals I bought was a fourplex. And the guy didn't say he was going to owner finance it, but I basically had $30,000 left in a home equity line of credit. And I just asked him, because he had just lowered the price, I said, will you take $30,000 down and just carry the note for me for 5 years at, I forget what interest rate we decided on. And he agreed to it. So ended up buying it on a bond for deed with no money down. Essentially, I had a second mortgage as a down payment, and then he gave me the mortgage. I didn't have to go to any banks or go through any of those hoops. And after paying everything, it cash flowed me $750 a month.
Wow! So paying the note to him, because that was you had to pay him
the note, the taxes, the insurance,
plus your
property manager,
plus your HELOC. You had to pay the interest on the HELOC, right? So after all that, you were bringing home $750. Wow, that's great.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, why don't I just do this again?
Yeah.
So that got me kind of like the bug of owner financing. So I started thinking of other creative ways, and I ended up getting a bunch of micro lines of credit, like credit cards, $10,000 to $15,000 lines. Sorry, I don't remember that. And altogether, it was about $250,000 in just micro lines of credit. So I knew that at the foreclosure sale, you could buy things at discount.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, well, and I'd had this relationship with a banker, and the one that financed our loan at the arena. I said, say, would you finance like me purchasing something at the foreclosure sale? He was like, no, we don't really do that. Like, you got to have, you got to own it. We'll refinance or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, but if you buy it in cash, then we can refinance it at 75% loan to value.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, shoot, I'll just buy stuff at 75% of what it's worth, and then go to the bank and refinance it, pay up the credit cards, and do it again.
Yeah.
And so I started doing the foreclosure sale, bought a bunch of houses and some condos and some multifamily. And I did it a bunch, I probably over 100 times.
Wow.
Just going to foreclosure sale and buying stuff with a credit line.
Yeah.
And then flipping it.
So how much research are you doing on the front end when you were buying those? Where you said if you bought things at 75 cents on the dollar, you go to the bank and get your money back out. How were you doing the research and then showing up the foreclosure and know what your max bid was and just bidding on those things? And if it didn't work out, you'd come back next week?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from being a realtor, you know how to do a comparative market analysis, right?
CMA, yeah.
And so I would just do a CMA on everything and, make sure that I was getting it at a low enough point and that I had a budget for contingency, things going wrong. I mean, a bunch of things go wrong.
Oh, sure.
Turn on the electricity and all of a sudden there's a fire.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff happened. But
Yeah.
you're just getting it at low enough cost to where you know that,
You got a buffer.
yeah, you could probably make some money out of it.
And was your geographical area mostly St. Tammany Parish, or were you going outside?
It was all St. Tammany.
Really? Okay. And this was what, 10 years ago?
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
About 10 years
Yeah.
ago. Okay.
I wasn't always smart with it.
Yeah, sure.
There were some losers in
Of
the
course.
group. I'm hanging on to about 5 of them that are now winners, but at the time they were not.
Yeah.
And I accidentally bought a yacht.
You accidentally bought a yacht.
I didn't. Well, I was gonna put the bid in to keep everybody honest, but I wasn't really gonna buy it. But nobody.
Where's the boat?
I made like $5 on it. I had it for like a year and then sold it.
That's a win for a boat.
Well,
To
to
make
say.
money off of a boat, even $5, that's a win.
It was like it was a Silverton dual cab yacht, and the bid started at 65, and I had it appraised at like 165,000. The bid started at 66. I said 67, and no one said anything else.
Stop.
So I was like, wow.
Okay.
Well, there's that.
What did you put it
Honey,
in
we
your
have a
phone?
yacht.
Well, I was renovating a house on the river, so I docked it there.
Nice.
And, I put it for sale. It was like for sale for a year, and then it was finally sold.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, you can literally go bid on anything at the courthouse. I mean, they've got the real estate sales and the movable sales. I've heard people bidding on things and thinking that they're bidding on one thing and actually bidding on something completely different and walking away with something they didn't intend to buy. So you do your due diligence.
Want to do
for
that
you.
one day for your birthday? That'll be-
No, for some reason that does not intrigue me as much as doing other things that people might raise their eyebrows at. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never been, but I guess I probably should go experience it. Yeah, I mean, and I know a lot of real estate investors that'll do creative financing on those things now. We do a lot of that, but I've never been myself, so I guess I'll have to go. You know what else I haven't done? I haven't read any of Kiyosaki's books.
None of them?
I haven't read any of them. I've read some of the Rich Dad Poor Dad series. I read the tax planning book, but I haven't read the actual like cash flow quadrant or Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I thought everybody has read Rich Dad
I
Poor
don't know
Dad.
why. Just like as much as I talk about people who do it and the books I've read all around, I've just never read that one. So I guess next time we talk on this, I'll have to.
We're gonna build a goal around that.
Yeah. So let's keep going. I mean, you've spread out since then, right? I mean, you started investing in real estate, smaller projects. At one point, you had an RV rental company that you were kind of spinning off of that too. And at what point did you partner with the people that you're partnered with now?
Yeah, so we set up more of a commercial
like to buy large apartments and hotels, and we do RV resorts now. I had this pivotal moment where I went to a reunion from college, and one of my buddies who lived down the hallway from me, we were just talking about, what we're doing now. And I was pretty proud and probably a little arrogant, so I was like, I own like over 100 houses and, doing pretty good in real estate. He's like, oh, that's awesome, man. I'm in real estate too. Well, oh, what do you do? He's like, well, we have about 4,000 apartments. It's worth about $4 billion. And I was like, I might be doing the wrong strategy here. So I actually, I flew down to Tampa. His brother graduated from Harvard, and after college, he was just like, hey, you want to blow up this apartment business? So they did what's called like the value add strategy, which we do a lot of. But he's a great guy. His name's Rob Reynolds. He's working on a Catholic TV show now called Studio 316.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I mean, he's, him and his brother is, in the B, of net worth. So,
They're still in the real estate game. They just have other things going on now.
I mean, they still have their company. Yeah. But they've both expanded to other things since. So anyways, knowing that having a mentor or a consultant, like, it's true. Whoever said your 5 closest friends, determine your fate, so to speak, or in business, like your net worth can immediately change just by being around the right people and absorbing the knowledge.
Yeah.
And so I asked him if I could go to Tampa and see his operation. I was there for 2 days. He was generous enough to just open up his books and his strategy and show me everything in his operation. And my partner Preston and I just went back and bought our first apartment at, it's like a $5.6 million, 62 unit apartment. And since we've expanded to over 200 million in assets under management. So it's been a fun journey, but there was basically one conversation with a guy that, that showed us how to do it. I didn't have to go to 4 years of
college to figure it out. But from a general standpoint, when you're investing in real estate, how much different is the process when you're talking about buying and acquiring and doing the value add strategy on a duplex as opposed to a 200 unit apartment building?
But the effort is basically the same. You're just scaling up. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the big aha moment I had when I met with him, because we had both been doing the same thing for 10 years. He was just doing it at a bigger scale.
Yeah.
I just thought I couldn't do it because of money.
Sure.
But the strategies surrounding capital and, all different kinds of capital, from private equity to institutions, family offices, accredited investors, debt funds, mezzanine debt, and even like the lending on the commercial front is a lot easier than lending at, with regional banks.
Yeah.
If you go through Fannie Mae and Freddie and CMBS, like those loans are actually a lot easier.
Yeah.
And they're non-recourse.
Sure. Yeah. So you're not on the hook if something happens personally.
The actual, if you were to put like a time stamp on it, like how much does it take to do this single family and how much does it take to do this 270 unit?
Yeah.
Probably a little less for the 270 unit.
Yeah.
Smarter, not harder.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then, but so from your mentor standpoint, though, I mean, how much time and interaction were you having with him going forward?
I maybe call him once a year.
Okay, but like, did y'all have that conversation? I think a lot of people hear that mentorship and coaching thing, and they're like, I don't want to burden this person. Like, did you actually have a conversation with him and say, hey, can we stay in touch, or did he offer it, or how did that relationship start to form?
He's my friend. I call him whenever, But,
Gotcha.
but so he was. I'm simplifying it. He was one of many people. Like we bought several mentorship programs that we didn't have the personal interaction like we did with him.
Yeah.
There was nothing like that, just having that personal conversation, going to visit him for 2 days. But also we learned a lot of the technical stuff like underwriting and a lot of stuff surrounding underwriting and financial modeling from actual courses.
Gotcha. And y'all were investing in those like every year, every quarter, just until you get more information.
I think that goes back to values in general. Like, people talk about reinvestment in business all the time. They want a healthy balance sheet. Getting them to that point, that's a challenge in and of itself. But to have somebody that just understands, I need to show up every day being a better version of myself in whatever way that looks like, whether it's your spiritual self, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's, at the business forefront. I think, and we actually talked about this a little bit on our earlier pod today, but the challenge around here is understanding what resources you have in this community, because we're a bunch of small businesses. So where other large businesses have a board of directors, that it's a sounding board, and they have experience that they're bringing to one another, sometimes that experience can be limited in small business. So really forcing yourself to say there's something else out there, where can I find that resource? And you do that by just always going around finding people that match your values. You're going to enjoy doing business with them. And if they're truly winning in life and in their business, they're going to respect that for somebody else. So I have no doubt when you approach them, that person's not going to be like, oh, let me keep all this information closely held. It's like, no, how can I help you win as well? That's when you find true collaborators.
Yeah, I think you focus on not like taking a slice of pie from someone else. I think altogether in this community, especially, we can focus on expanding the pie together.
Correct. These are my gifts. These are your gifts. How can we make St. Tammany a better place?
That's right. I mean, we also go to a lot of conferences, especially in New York and Los Angeles. And with the intellectual talent that we have here, there's no reason that we can't be
Amen.
as big and as organized and have the right systems and processes and strategies here in Louisiana, but we just don't.
Yeah.
We just don't.
And well, there's some businesses that are there that people don't have access to or don't know even exist here. I was lucky to be part of one, so it opened my mind to really challenge that and push it and see. And if we keep doing the development that we're planning for, that our leaders are trying to bring in, then we'll have access to even better talent. But it's hard to push.
So let me ask you guys something. Turn
Sure.
the tables. So when you guys, when you're talking to people who are either starting a business or trying to scale their business, what are the key team members that you're telling them to place on their team?
That is so conditional. So first, it's establishing the values and their purpose. And then if you combine that with whatever their ideal client is going to be for their industry, those three things together set the foundation for all your business decisions moving forward, right? Because that indecision fatigue, it weighs on people immensely. And I think a lot of people get started in business and they're really good at what they do, but they don't necessarily have those boundaries, so they can't be intentional on a day-to-day basis. And that wears them down, so they don't get to that level of success. Once you have that, then you can build that utopian structure of your business. What is my business going to look like? The failure that we often see there, the misstep, is what you're saying to, okay, these are the people that I have, and I'm going to build my business around the people. Bullshit. You're going to build the business. This is what it looks like. And those people can either fill those roles or we have to go outside to find another talent. It doesn't mean that we abandon those partners that share our values, but we look at them, we do personality assessments. It goes that deep to say, you naturally show up in life like this, and I want to set you up for success because I love you and I know that you can contribute. Once you do that, you put them in a role that they're going to succeed at. They're going to stay motivated in that role. And you're not trying to fulfill all the roles yourself, right? Because that's the other challenge that you have in small business. So then once you create that utopian structure and you have those people in the roles, then y'all can collectively create some goals that you're all moving towards. So it's not necessarily the key people. Now, I will say, to answer the question a little more succinctly, 3 roles that you have to have some kind of sales and marketing, which oftentimes are looped together, but I wholeheartedly look at them as 2 separate things, relationship building versus your means of communication to your clients. So sales and marketing. You need an operations realm, which is, what are you doing, right? If you're offering a service, you got to have some quality control around those services, and you got to manage people, which is freaking hard. And then you have to have a financial component, right? Whatever that looks like. And sometimes people loop in their personnel management there because of payroll. So you kind of loop HR into your financial realm. So if you were to tell me what, the buckets that you would need, I would say those 3 roles. The people that fill those roles, and maybe somebody outside of your organization.
Yeah. And kind of what she's saying about the funnest part for me, whenever I was building in she calls it utopian world, I had somebody refer to it as like building your Disneyland. It's like, what is this going to look like when you're done? Like when you're where you want to be, your organization is completely built out, and you have all the right people in the right places. What is your structure and your organizational chart going to look like? And at first, you're going to not have anybody in those roles if you do it the right way. You're not building a seat for somebody that's already here. It's like you build out the organizational chart and then say, okay, now who's best to fit each one of these roles? And there's an exercise that we go through with our clients, with our staff, and we tell them, like, okay, there's this role here. And everybody generally knows who you're going to be putting in there. But you're like, all right, Lauren, do you get this role? Do you want to have this role? And do you have the means and capabilities of doing that role? She then accepts that role and you put her in that seat. And everybody has to be brutally honest. Like somebody says, that might not be the right spot for Lauren. I think she might be better over here. Well, then everybody has that same conversation. Do you get it, want it? Do you have the capacity to do it? And so I think it's very important to, like she said, to take the emotion out of it. Like, what is the best thing for our organization? What seats are available? And then, okay, once you've identified and all agree that those are the seats, now how do we plug the right people into those roles so you can grow? And the beauty of what we did when we first started with the four of us is when we had that conversation, we had our chart built out and we already knew really who was going to fit in each role because just based on our personalities, so
we feel the disc wheel and complement one another. Like if you look at the whole structure, the 4 owners, we each take a quadrant. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to have that complementary support. Most people aren't that lucky.
Well, I think each one of you is the high C.
I'm a DC, so I'm a driver. So yeah, I'm basically crazy. I want to go really fast, and I want to reach the goal, and I want it to be freaking perfect. But Becky's the C. Becky leads with her C. She's a CS. He's a DI, and John's our IS.
Yeah. Which works out well because I'm more of the relationship forward-facing role. Lauren is the one who's making sure the operation and standards are met. John runs a title company. Becky runs a law firm, and all of our personalities kind of fit within that spectrum. So it allows us to run faster, as fast as we can, as fast as our staff allows us to go get more work.
And put up with 2 Ds.
Yeah.
Because we want to move fast a lot.
So that's a long way of answering your question probably. But, and we've seen a lot of businesses who will come to us. We actually had one of the most proud moments from Lauren and I having a consult with a client was these 2 people walking in the room and they complimented each other relatively well. But we had a conversation about values, and they had picked 5 values. 4 of them they aligned with, and one of them that they both were like, I think this, I think that. Couldn't really agree. And we're like, well, look, we're gonna let y'all go and have a conversation about this.
We stopped the meeting essentially. I was like, y'all go figure this out because there's no sense in moving forward.
Yeah.
Until y'all do.
And then in 2 weeks,
that's pretty key value alignment.
100%.
If you don't have that, then it's
2 weeks later, these people let us know that they decided not to go into business together.
And they had already started the business, and we saved them a lot of time. They were like, oh, we're so sorry we failed. I'm like, no, this is a perfect example of why you go through this process. I mean, that saves you years of trouble to understand that we will never be on the same path because you're going to have challenging situations. If you don't handle challenge the same way, which is your values and your foundation, you're not going to be on the same team.
Every time a situation shows up, whether it's not only do the right thing, or we can do something that kind of on the line, that not necessarily just those things, but just like, hey, we have this opportunity or that opportunity. It's like our ideal client, our values, and our purpose very clearly can distinguish whether that's within our lane or whether it's outside of our lane.
Jared and I need that because we would chase squirrels all day. Yeah. That's a great opportunity. We can make money doing that and doing that.
That's called the entrepreneur's curse.
Oh, for
it
sure.
is. It really is. Because then we feel like he'll be like, well, we're moving so slow. I'm like, no, that's just because we've said no to the last 4 things.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that? I mean, I know you have partners within your organization and you have people that sit in different seats.
I still don't fully understand all the seats that y'all have, but one day I will. Yeah. I'm going to come and make you build out your chart for me with all the businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you and Preston are partners, right? And so obviously I know you both personally. I know there's a value fit there. So I'd like to hear kind of how y'all work together. I'd like to know how you have found people to run each different department, right? I know you got Christian running marketing, you got JW running the parts of the business that he runs, and everybody seems from the outside, from my standpoint, that they're all doing the thing that they should be doing. And then from how y'all can determine what's an opportunity, what's not an opportunity. Because I heard this rule one time. It's the 6-foot rule. Like if I can stand in one spot and reach out and touch it with the core business that we have, then it's probably going to be an opportunity for us to pursue. If it's outside of that kind of reachable area, then that might not be a good opportunity for us right now because it's not going to benefit
for it because it'll be a distraction.
Yeah. So is it benefiting? I know that people look at like Cabin Wars, for example, and be like, how does Ryan have time to run a TV show? But when you hear about the reason why, it's genius, what you did there. So one, how do you partner with people and how do you decide people that are right for your organization?
Yeah, well, I mean, I could speak, specifically about the partnership with Preston. So we were actually in another business together. One of my friends from college, still a great friend, he wanted to bring Preston on, and I didn't want to bring him on. I was like, why don't just me and you? I don't really know this Preston guy. And we ended up just letting him come on. And working with Preston, first of all, the value alignment was there, you know, but secondly, the business didn't do well. And in that time, my roommate from college, he was taking a different approach, and Preston and I were taking more of an approach of like, all right, well, the situation is what it is. Let's solve the problem, you know, and we would wake up every day and say, all right, let's do these things and focus on solving problems. So that's essentially what
How our relationship was built.
And so he was a good partner in a failed business, and we ended up losing a lot of money on the business and cutting it out. But because of that initial experience, it was like, all right, if you could be in partnership with someone and something that's failing, and you guys are learning how to work things out and come up with solutions together. From a personality standpoint, I'm an IDI, and I've got some S in me. I've got no C. Like
Shocked.
All risk, no risk tolerance. Yeah, no risk.
I dubbed that a while ago.
Yeah,
detail, didn't see like details,
detail. Usually, like
Conscientious,
worried about
compliant.
taking risk.
bookkeeping and stuff like that. Like I would rather stare at paint for 10 hours than bookkeep.
You both.
Yeah.
And so like he's got a lot of the executional roles that I lack. And so it was a good partnership from just the value standpoint, the
Complementary behaviors.
and then also the personalities and the strengths that we brought to the table.
Yeah. And then all right, now let's move on to how y'all value and filter opportunities. So how do y'all make those types of decisions?
How do you kick the squirrels away?
So when you say opportunity, you talking about just like scaling the business, or are you talking about like specific to real estate deals?
Yeah, no, I think scaling the business in general. Like when you're looking, when you have Servio and what Servio's doing, and you have somebody else present you with an opportunity, or you see something as an opportunity, how are you vetting that to make sure that's something y'all need to be doing now and not putting that on the back burner till later?
A lot of times your problems and your suffering dictate how you need to move forward.
Yeah.
That's been my experience with a lot of business. And so, you know, currently when we first started, we were doing just one-off syndications. For your listeners that don't know what that is, it's just like you have a deal, you raise money for that individual deal. Then we moved to the fund model, which is a lot easier, and you get investors committed to you because they trust you and they know you and they like you, and you invest in a fund structure where you can go after any deal whenever it makes sense, which is a lot more efficient too, and you get better deals because you have the immediate opportunity to deploy the capital when you get under contract instead of getting under contract and then panicking for 30 days while you try to raise the money. You know, and we've done plenty of that. And so the fund structure is a better structure for us. That was just feeling the pain of the syndication structure. Was like, all right, how do we grow our business from here?
Yeah.
A fund allows for more scalability internally. We can go after bigger deals. We can go after more deals, and we can grow our team in the areas that we have the most need.
Sure.
You know, where we need to solve the most problems with talent.
And better blood pressure.
Yeah, and better blood pressure.
But it's interesting that you took the step of figuring it out, the process on a deal by deal basis, proving yourself, building relationships with some people, and then whenever you had that track record, then you were able to make the next step. And while it would be easier to do the fund structure at first, I'm sure that not being able to do that because you didn't have the relationships and the track record at first to be able to go to somebody and say, "Hey, give me $1 million so that I can have it in case I want to buy a real estate deal. This is my first multifamily property that I'm going to be doing." Right. So having that track record, and then how did y'all decide that Cabin Wars was an opportunity for you guys?
So Cabin Wars, to explain that, is a reality show centered around the renovation. It's a competition reality show centered around the renovation of cabins at this RV park that we just bought. For those people that are living in this area, we bought the old Yogi Bear RV park, which was 577 total spots, 77 cabins, and they're all these old beat up cabins. This Big Bird yellow. I mean, they're
all the same, right?
Yeah. Well, there's some of them were different. They're all pretty nasty, and
equally dirty.
Yeah, I'd always been like really interested in the UFC, with like Dana White. And I specifically remember an interview with Dana White where he said, one of our problems was getting sanctioned, like having the government say that this is a legit sport. This isn't just like some underground blood sport. And he said, we looked at all the ways of trying to do that PR nightmare, from advertising to, trying to set up meetings with government officials. And he said, ultimately, the best marketing tool that we came up with was to start a reality show, and that was Ultimate Fighter. So UFC actually became a legitimate sport through the reality show Ultimate Fighter.
They opened the curtain.
I thought to myself, that's genius as a marketing tool to do that. And so our goal with this park is to revitalize it and bring people back to the park. And so we had already allocated a marketing budget anyways for the park. Mm-hmm. I was like, what a better way to bring people along the journey of the transformation of the park than through a reality show. Mm-hmm. And so
while highlighting the gifts of the people in the community. It's so cool. I love it.
It was unintentionally smart.
I wasn't thinking how cool it would be.
A lot cooler than I thought. But I told my partners, Mikey Nunmaker and Preston, on this park, I said, just an idea. What if we took 3 teams of renovators, gave them each a budget, and gave them some reward money, and had them compete for 30 days with just $20,000 to renovate because we had to stay in budget anyway.
Yeah.
And which was our budget for the renovation, and just made a reality show out of it. And they were both like, "That is an awesome idea." And I rarely get told that.
I was about to say, out of how many times did they roll their eyes when you come with an idea?
My wife also said it was an awesome idea, so I was like, all right, let's do it.
Well, there you go. Right.
Yeah.
It's the second awesome idea she's giving you.
So cool. Like looking at those cabins, I don't know.
It's incredible.
I loved it.
It really expanded bigger than I thought it would. So the way that we did it was a social media vote, and we had 5 seasons. Each had 3 renovators, so we had a total of 15 renovators. And to win, the prize money was $40,000 if you won. You had to have the most votes. So we set up an online voting system. I thought, maybe we'll get a couple hundred votes. We had 28,000 people that voted. We had people all the way from Ireland, Afghanistan, Brazil, like all over, but especially, the United States, just tons of votes all over the place.
So cool.
And so everybody got to see that renovation in real time, and it helped promote the park.
So your wife runs a nonprofit called Booness Hope, and if people don't know about it, they should definitely look it up. It's a great cause. We support it every year. Last year when we went, we bid on a couple auction items, and one of them was a house in New Orleans for a weekend, an Airbnb, and then we also voted and we also auctioned on
A cabin.
What did we say? Not auction. We bid on the cabin and got the cabin at the park, and we presented to one of our staff members whether she wanted to do one or the other.
She was elected as our cultural leader for the year by the rest of the company, and
we gave her both options: the New Orleans house or the RV park weekend, and she chose to go visit the RV park for the weekend instead of going down.
She said at first she was like, probably New Orleans, and I was like, go to the website, and she started checking them out. She's like, I'm definitely going to this RV park.
Yeah,
I don't think people realize how much y'all got going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, the water park, it's almost like a water park. The pool's so nice with the water slide. And those cabins just bring you to a whole nother element. There's nothing like that around here.
It's really cool. It feels like a different world being out there. It doesn't feel like the North Shore.
Right.
Yeah, but it's 15 minutes from where we're sitting right now, right?
It's so close.
It's super close. But I think the cool part is that people who want to come visit the park have seen all of the personality behind each cabin. So they want to go not only to just go see this, they want to be like, I want to stay in this cabin because I really like the story that the person who built the cabin and the whole experience that they got to go through with these people on the reality show. I want to stay at this person's cabin because this one, I really like the person who built it, or I really like the mindset or the elements that they contribute to. Because I know people were bringing in things like old restored wood from different places and putting in strategic spots. So really, really cool concept. Yeah, every one of them, there's a story behind all of them.
There's more stories to come, right? I mean, you got more episodes coming?
We just finished, this week we will finish our 2nd season, and we got 3 more seasons to go.
Exciting.
So, yeah. And it was just picked up by HGTV, so.
Heck
No
yeah.
way.
All right,
awesome.
Jared. So I have an idea. It's an arena reality show.
Yeah.
We've had so many people tell us to do it. I'm like, oh, Lord.
Yeah. Well,
It'd be Jared and I boxing. I'm definitely faster.
doubt it.
I would actually pay.
It's so funny when we do. We get people that will come and then they'll be with one of us and they'll be like, "Oh, that was a really good close." And I'm like, "Text Jared, tell him it was the best one you've ever had." So we're always giving each other shit.
It's fun.
Healthy competition. I still got voted best hair though. We'll always remember that.
Nobody's gonna.
Thank you.
Nobody's gonna vote on a man's being the best hair whenever you got a woman.
Because Jared thinks he's got the best hair.
Anyway.
Anyway, you get some highlights.
There you go. That'll put me over the top for sure.
When you start getting gray like me, then you'll really feel it.
So I think our conversation shifted from showing people that you have different in order for you to be able to be happy, you got to know what you enjoy doing first of all, and then transition into starting your first business, struggling a little bit, figuring that out, deciding when I was trying to get out, finding opportunity, doing a lot of learning and education when it comes to books and different seminars, and then finding opportunities based on pain points you have within your business. And you're not the first person I've heard say that, right? I mean, you had a pain point where you needed to market your RV park, so you'd be able to plug in this TV series. You needed to raise money more efficiently. You started a fund instead of syndicating each deal. You'll hear people that are investing in real estate. They've got a portfolio in an area. They start spending X amount on landscaping, and then they're like, I'm just going to start a landscape company and plug that in so I don't have to pay $500,000. I can pay $350,000 to run a landscape business instead and manage my property. So it's all about figuring out how to be more efficient with your time and energy. And one of the quotes that I like to say is that the habits that you have now and the processes you have now that got you where you're at are not going to be the ones that are going to take you to the next level. You got to constantly be adapting and changing and looking for opportunities and knowing what's an opportunity and not a squirrel. And so I think that's kind of the to summarize what you're saying is like you constantly are looking to shift and finding opportunities within your own organization to make yourself more efficient and grow through that.
Just, it's not about transitioning to something else. It's like, how else can we do this, but do it better, more profitable, and more fun?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is huge. If you're having fun, you really make it last a lot longer. So before we transition out, let's give Danielle a little bit of a plug, and our good friend Jason Angelette, because both of them are great people. So tell us about Boonus Hope, just in a quick little summary, and then what y'all do every year for that.
Yeah. So Boonus Hope was my friend Jason Angelette, his wife Elise Charbonnet Angelette. She grew up here. She went to SSA. My wife and I, became very good friends with them after college. Went to family vacations with them, all kinds of stuff like that. And in 2015, I want to say she was diagnosed with breast cancer, fought it for, about 5 years, and then passed away in 2020, leaving 5 kids behind.
Yeah.
Before she passed away, her nickname growing up was Boona, which means good. And she decided to start a charity called Boonus Hope. And the charity has the mission of providing some sort of joy and hope to families that are undergoing like a medical crisis, whether it's a diagnosis for cancer or something else like that. So we've been just raising money for that charity, and it's been a real blessing to be able to give to people in similar situations. So, one of our first guys that we helped was up in Pittsburgh, whose wife also passed away, leaving him 5 kids. And he had some special needs kids as well. So we bought him a specialized van through Boonus Hope that also accommodated his special needs kids. Another guy locally, his wife passed away, and we were able to get him maid service for 5 months. Just to help out around the house while he was going through that stuff. And then lately, we've been doing Boona's room makeovers. So people can go on to the website, boonushope.com, and they can request a care package, like a Boona. We do like these Boona boxes, or they could request a room makeover, and we'll come into people's houses and completely make over a space to add a little, joy in whatever they're experiencing.
Yeah.
Jason said that when they were going through cancer, someone came in and renovated his living room, and for the whole family, it was just like a breath of fresh air, just to kind of have like a a change around the house
Yeah.
and feel, something new and excited to be, around. So we've done outdoor kitchens so far. We've
That's
got
right,
a prayer room. We've got a lot more that we're going to do on that front. So, it's exciting, Charity. I'm very.
Yeah, she's doing great, and the event they'll have every year called
A
Wiggy
good
with
party.
it at the Abita Brewery in Abita Springs is a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun. Good food, good people, and auction items, like I said. So we always enjoy going.
Everybody
to that
looks
every year.
crazy in a wig.
Yeah, it is
Fun.
funny.
It's fun trying to identify people with a wig on.
It takes you a
Yeah.
few minutes to realize who you're talking to and who's in the room before, but it's great. So, look, man, I appreciate it. Again, appreciate you and everything you've done, and for not only supporting us, but St. Tammany Parish and the area. So, appreciate you, man.